Sometimes people think the conquest of Canaan required an indiscriminate slaughter of people. However, God's judgment against the Canaanite nations was a surgical process that carefully cut out evil while still preserving every life that could be saved. From the first battle in Canaan, we see God's desire to spare whomever he could. Although Jericho was one of the cities that God determined must be destroyed, he was careful to protect the lives of Rahab and all her family. The practices of the Canaanite nations were abominations which had defiled the land and its people. God detests sin because it destroys the life of the sinner. This lies at the foundation of God's judgments against these nations. Sin doesn't only affect the sinner, but all who encounter it. The wages of sin is death. This means physical as a mortal being, and then eternal destruction in hell. The Canaanites were living in sin, which means death was pronounced on them and eternal destruction in hell. In essence, they would have perished anyway. So, God bringing Israel to their borders was redemptive, giving them a chance to repent. God's wrath is against the sin, not the sinner. Note, Israel marched around the walls of Jericho for 7 days. If God only wanted to destroy them, it could have been done quickly. However, they got time to repent, seek Yahweh, and avert their physical and eternal destruction. The other nations within Canaan would have Jericho as an example to either follow and worship the true God or face the consequences of sin. According to Rahab, they had all heard about Israel's God. They knew he was a God who was better than the lifeless Canaanite deities. However, they, like the Pharaoh of Egypt, hardened their hearts and, as such, became one with the culture to such an extent that the destruction of their evil culture meant they had to be destroyed too. Notably, God's original purpose for the Canaanites was not annihilation but dispossession. Unfortunately, due to Israel's failure to act, the nations had time to prepare themselves to resist both Israel and Israel's God. All the nations, including Israel, would then learn in a practical way what the impact of sin is and how sin and sinners will be destroyed. Notably, these lessons can be learned from reading the Bible, hence there is no need for such drastic measures today. The Israelites were merely the instruments used in the judgment. They would learn and not to go the way of sin, but be a righteous example to the nations around. God warned Israel that they would be dispossessed from the same land if they too followed the pagan practices and idolatry of the nations which were removed. See the full video for more details. Subscribe, like, and share.